Hello, hi, and welcome. I'm Bunny. It's so wonderful to be here with you today. Before we jump into the video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below to tell me how your day is going. Now let's game on. So today I was hoping to give you a quick tips and tricks and a little bit of a tutorial regarding upgrading starter homes. And we're actually going to start with this base game one because this is one that I play in the most often. So I have my filter set to base game so that we don't accidentally get anything that isn't base game out here. And we're at this stage of renovation, which is we are assessing the home. Now I'm going to break down the steps to renovate a home really quickly. There's step 1, what about this house makes you unhappy? Step 2, get rid of unnecessary and expensive stuff. Step 3, put down things you want or need. And step 4, make it pretty. Now, let's break those steps down. Step 1, what about the house makes you unhappy? Well, this house has a lot of problem areas. It's too tall. It's really dark inside. Seems there's some glitchiness regarding this every time I fix it. So we'll get there in a minute. And I have a toddler. As you can see, this is a one-bedroom house. This does not quite work for what I need. On top of everything else, the windows are incredibly wonky. We have, on this side and this side, all the same height. But when you look over here, it's all wimble-wombly with each other. And I'm also just not a huge fan of any of this landscaping out here. So we're actually going to start by bulldozing the terrain. And this just helps so that I don't feel beholden to the layout out here. Next, we're going to get rid of all the lighting because it's not really effective lighting in the first place. Now, I do believe the next step was to get rid of unnecessary expensive items, but for now, what we're actually going to do is put everything inside the house in our household inventory. See, there's this glitch I was talking about. If I scoot it this way, the external wall is going to be deleted, but if I scoot it this way, it doesn't. Now we're on to step 2, which is to get rid of unnecessary expenses. So for this house, that means the spandrel and railing. 81 simoleons for one tile of that railing. Simply absurd. We're going to replace it with this railing, which is significantly less expensive per tile, and I think looks nicer with the columns used. And then we're even going to delete the invisible railing that goes across the stairs. Already, our budget is looking much better. Now, the siding for the house currently is the version with trim, which is a whole extra simoleon more expensive. Meanwhile, if I replace it with the trimless clapboard crush, we get 33 simoleons back, and that's just for the big room, let alone for the whole house. Finally, we're going to move in to the internal walls and floors of the home. The price difference of flooring is astonishing. Now, they did use a tile that is affordable in the kitchen and the bathroom. However, I simply don't like it, so I'm going to replace it with one I do like. And now for the walls. The internal walls. This wallpaper does look very nice, but I can guarantee you it's far outside our actual price range. It's almost double the price of the basic pastels with white trim, and in this particular swatch, it looks like the exact same wall that they used previously. Now we're going to shorten these walls and line up some of the windows. As I'm sure you noticed, I also shrunk the kitchen just now. I'm also going to be moving it quite a few tiles forward. So far, this is what we're left with in terms of the house's appearance. We need to fix the roof, which is quite simple. And you can leave it there if that's how you like the roof on this building, but I'm actually going to do something a little more fun. And I'm going to start by deleting the roof. To make roofs on houses like this just a little bit more interesting, we're going to start by taking this full hipped roof and we're going to lower it completely. Well, not quite completely, but till it's at a nicer vantage. And then we're going to pull out the eaves. Then we're going to take a roof like this, and we're going to actually put it about a tile back from the front. And lower it to match. And instantly the roof is much more interesting. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Or, if you don't want to try finding the same pitch, you can just copy the roof piece and shrink to taste. Much better. Thankfully, everything to do with roofing in The Sims is totally free, so I'm going to actually change the roof trim as well from what we had before. Previously, we had a very interesting choice of green, and now we are going to be using white to complement the brown-green color scheme of the walls versus the roof. This means I'm also going to change the foundation. Thankfully, this is also free in The Sims, though in real life that is not the case. Now, for the front door and front windows. Oftentimes they say the windows of the house are kind of like its eyes. I'm not a big fan of these windows, especially because it's right in the front face of the house. And I'm not a real big fan of this door either, so it's got to go. This door is much taller and suits the walls much more nicely. And then because we've been very good with our budget so far, I'm going to spare just enough simoleons to get 4 more columns on the house. The final splurge for the day. A bay window. Now that the house has a much higher appeal, we can actually lay out what we're going to do with the bedrooms and the bathroom. The goal at the end of this entire renovation is to end up with a minimum of 1,300 simoleons for bills, food, and anything else your Sims might need. Now that we have a more appealing layout for the house, we're going to move on to step 3, necessary upgrades, or putting down things you want and need. We're going to start by putting down everything that we moved into the household inventory. Now that everything from our household inventory is laid out, I can see that we are lacking way more than we initially thought we were. Now, I'm more than certain we initially acknowledged that there was nothing in the house originally for the toddler. So we're going to give her just a few very necessary things. As nice as having a TV is, what we really need is a computer, and I want a much smaller dining table because this feels incredibly awkward to me. Now, that still leaves us with the need for a dining table. The smallest and most efficient one that I like for this house is this one. And because we have a toddler, we can actually put a high chair so that the toddler can be included in the dining experience of the house. Now we have significantly more places for people to sit and enjoy themselves in the home, and we've barely spent any of our money thus far. Now, for the hard one. We must have a shower tub combo. The sad thing is, these are incredibly expensive. Even the cheapest one in the game. But now that we have all the necessities down, we can actually work on making the space prettier. Well, before we start on all that, let's actually put down a couple of skill items first. Now that your Sims have some very necessary skill items, we can work on actually making the house much nicer to look at. And we're actually going to cut to a speed montage for that. So, talk to you in a bit. Alrighty. Now that we've made all the upgrades we're going to make to the house, let's take a closer look at them and explain why they were made. So, as you well know, these are skill building items that are very necessary for advancing careers and other aspects of gameplay. The living room has a rug and 2 new plants, plus what used to be the TV stand now has a lamp. These are all things that make the space feel more lived in and lively. The office space by the front door now has these two items, which are purely for decoration, but they add to this being the area where you take your shoes off and enter the home. And a plant just makes everything more lively. Now, I did put in these cabinets, but I think I'm actually going to have to delete them so that we can get some landscaping outside, which I'll get to in just a minute. The toddler has a perfectly nice, livable space with actually quite a few decorations. We can actually delete this poster to make some more space for landscaping here in a minute. And if there's anything left over after landscaping, we can give her her poster back, or maybe a curtain for one of her windows. And then there is the main suite of the house. I put in a rug, a plant, a table lamp, a mirror, and some books. And we're going to move to the yard and explain a little bit about landscaping. Landscaping on a budget in The Sims is incredibly difficult and sucks a whole heckin' lot, but we can make it easier by picking some of the cheaper items. This hawthorn tree is perfect for the front yard. Let's turn the grid on and find a good spot for it. That is beautiful. It covers up the bump out on the side of the house a little bit and creates a more uniform but also lived in kind of home feeling. Now, that leaves this area. What we can do to make things a little bit cheaper on ourselves is to stick to a very minimal landscape. So, very minimal landscaping usually involves a planter box right out front of the house. And because we are broke, I'm not going to sit here and fence it out and do all the things, not until I know it can be afforded. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two beautiful little hydrangea shrubs and this nice little low-lying plant, and I'm going to create a nice lush little space right here. To make it feel more alive, we're going to add some dirt, and this is where I'm going to teach you a couple things about terrain paint. So, this does not affect the opacity of your terrain paint. You can still get it to full opacity just by holding it in one spot. This just affects the softness on the edge of the shape. When you put it to full harshness, you get the entire circle filled immediately. This is much better for lining shrubs and walls and fences with dirt so that they feel more lived in and like they've been there for a while. But it's also a great way to map out pathways you're going to make from the house. And I will show you how to make a path in just a second. For now, I'm just trying to put some dirt along the edge of the entire perimeter of the house. And then I'm going to take this cobbled together paver and I'm going to curve it around my plants back to the sidewalk. I'm sure you're wondering, Bunny, why would you do that? To make it feel more homey. It's much cuter for the path to wind a little bit around the landscaping. And to add to some of this, I'm actually going to patch down just a little bit of gravel very lightly so that the original path is still visible, but the gravel makes it feel more walked on. And then we're going to take this dirt once more and we're going to shrink the size of our landscaping brush. And we're just going to very lightly follow the perimeter of the little pathway. And then we're going to take this tool. This is an eraser, so that you don't have to bulldoze your terrain paint every time you want to change a small piece of it. We're going to scoot the mailbox on up closer to the path and tilt it just a little bit more towards the house so that it feels more in line with the path. And then we're going to take the terrain paint once more and we're going to feather just a little bit of dirt under the bottom of that tree. And that is how you, on a budget, a very small budget, mind you, upgrade a Sims 4 starter home. As we wrap up for today, I would like to thank everyone so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and tell me down below what else you'd like to see me do in the future. Remember that I upload every Saturday, given that life permits it. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!